Alright. I put out a poll there for you guys to decide what am I going to do with this cool house. There was a lot of possibilities, but one thing I was kind of leaning towards, and you guys did pick, was a haunted house. And I thought also a good New Orleans kind of a house, you know, for Mardi Gras. But everybody picked a combination of the two. So kind of a New Orleans Mardi Gras haunted house. So I put my brain power to work. I gathered lots of parts and pieces and things that could remotely help us in making this. I even found some little teeny skulls, and I have tons and tons and tons. You know all those kits we do? There's all the parts and pieces that are extra, and I think will be extra useful in doing something, I'm sure. So, first things first. Let's take this sucker apart. And you can see I completely took it apart. So I cut out a new piece. It's bigger. It's about, I would say about a ½ inch or so bigger around. So what we're gonna do, this is the theory anyway, is there's the bottom part, here's the top part, and here's the tippy top part. Now, my thought is I'm gonna make a storefront down here, kind of like a palm reader kind of cool thing. And I'm gonna use these as our fancy awnings. These as our columns. It's just straws. Columns. And then we'll make a door, or maybe a window. Maybe we'll just put windows up here. So I do have a lot, and I can make them light up. So the reason I opened this up is so that I can stick lights in there. And I think I can just, because I have a gap here, and I made a gap in the back, I just can do a small string light to go doop, doop, jam it all in there, and then it should glow. But looking at this, these windows are far too small. So I think we might want to make this storefront a little bit bigger. We'll leave this part up. That's like where the witchy lives here. That's her cute little house. Down here is where she runs her business. So yeah. And it should be relatively easy because this fell apart. Yeah. So I can just make a bigger version of this, no problem. All right, got lots of pieces and parts and chopping. So basically cut out the middle. We want to make this storefront. I want some big glass windows, you know, so that they can put their storefront there, and a door in the middle, which I'm gonna say is that-ish. And then got the sides, and then the back, front, and a back. We'll just use that extra piece. Something like that. So it's just a smidge bigger, and then I got a nice open space here with two big funky windows on each side. Just a little bit bigger. And for the door, now I got all these things, and I was thinking I could use that for the top. See if we can get a good piece. This is, I'm trying to work with what I have. So I think I'll do this. I'll chop it down to size so that it's tall enough, but not too tall. And that'll be my door. Yeah. Let's try gluing this together. Okay, so I'm gonna glue the door. I cut the lower half to size so that when I combine the top little window there with my little wood piece, it'll be about the height of that wall. And I'm only going to put one on. These window pieces that I got are a little thin, so I will put two in eventually. I'll put a piece of plastic in between and then sandwich it in together. And then I'm just going to put my walls up. Now, originally I wanted those little tiny walls in the front with the tiny little windows. I end up taking it apart because I want the full storefront effect. Yeah, and right here is when I realized that's not enough room for some big windows, so we'll take those pieces off. It's easy when you're making it yourself. We're just making it as we go. Fit to the design that we have in our head. And speaking of the windows, let's make those window frames. So I'm just going to use these little dowels. I cut them to size, so 2 long sides and 2 shorts for the top and the bottom. And we're going to make it like a picture frame. So we are going to angle each end. So just cut it at an angle, and then they will meet up like a nice little picture frame. And when you do this, you just got to make sure your angle's at the right direction. Otherwise, they won't go together. So if you put them all at the same angle, it's not going to work quite right. And I'm just going to glue these together and set them aside to dry. To make the actual windows, I have sticker paper that I can put through my printer, and I just found some clip art, put it together, added some stars, moons, some writing, things like that, and it's just on clear sticker paper. And I'm going to stick it onto some leftover plastic pieces that I have from making windows on past kits. I remembered to peel the film off this time around. I would say the hardest part of this is not having your little sticker curl up on you, which it did at first, and I had it stuck all over the place. So it looks a little rough, but you know what? It kind of works for our dingy little storefront. So I just let it be and just stuck it right on there. We want it to look like it's been there for a long time. Her business is good, so she's been a long-lasting business location. Now I did get some tissue paper, and I was debating whether to back it with some different color tissue paper. I'm not sure yet. I might decide that later on down the line. And I'm not going to stick this window part onto the frames just yet because I want to do some painting first. If we stuck it together and then painted it, you're just going to make a mess. So I'm going to do it all separate. Here's my door all glued. You can see that top window is a little thin, but we're not going to put it together just yet. We're going to fit it to make sure it's kind of what I was thinking. Something like that will be the front of the store. Of course, we'll add a doorknob and all that stuff and make it look more door-like. Now I want to put some siding on the walls. I debated on a few different ways of doing this. I ended up deciding, because I was thinking I could do brick, I could do some stone walls, but let's do kind of like a corrugated look. And one nice thing is when you peel cardboard like this to make kind of the faux corrugated wall look, I kept it dingy on purpose. See how it has all the things that still stick on there? I'm going to leave those on, and because this is an old building and this just adds to, see, it just adds to kind of like the paint, many layers of paint is peeling, that kind of look. I liked it, so we stuck with it. Once we got all our pieces of cardboard all peeled and ready to go, I'm just going to trace it, cut it out, and stick it to the walls. Another thing I decided to do was put windows on each side. So I wanted to make holes so that my little windowsills will fit into it, because how buildings are built, they're not built on top of the wall. It's kind of built into the wall. So it makes more sense. To me, anyway. And since I decided to put windows on the side, I thought the light should be able to shine through at least a little bit. So I got my biggest drill bit that I could find, and I just drilled right where the window panes kind of would be. And I'm going to paint that little hole where the window is kind of an orange glow, and then it'll just look like she kind of wiped just enough area to see out of. And it should give us a good lighting effect on the side there. Also, one nice thing about sticking this to cardboard or whatever, all our little bits and pieces, they're going to be all completely hidden. You'll never know that it's 1,000 pieces of wood underneath there. Okay, next up we're going to make a balcony with some really cool railings. I gathered some straws, some little wood pieces that I found, and here's my new balcony floor that I cut out. And it should be, yep, just a little bit bigger. The little one, the old one, the original, was way short, and there's no way you'd walk around or have room for a railing. So I did make one just a little bit bigger. So we're going to do some columns and figure out how to do a fancy fence. I found these little wood pieces a long time ago, and I now have a use for them. But I thought they were good enough to make kind of a fence, so we're going to play puzzle here and figure out how we want to try and make a little fence line. Thought that way. And we're just going to have to play with it a little bit. Looked like this design was going to fit, but it needs a little bit more, fanciness. So I ended up cutting one of the pieces and taking the straight lines off to just fit the little filigree right there in the middle, and that completed the design. because this was very lightly touching in some spots, I just put glue right any spot that it was touching another piece. So in my brain, I just thought of this as, this is wrought iron and this is where they would weld it together. So even if it gloops and glops, just think of it kind of like a welding joint. And it did work out. Just let it dry completely before moving it. I made about 8 of these extra just in case. And now we're going to do some fancy stuff with my baling wire. I'm going to cut this up. My idea is on the pillars, there's going to be little twirly hooks at the top so that we can put hanging plants. So it's just a piece of wire and a twirl, a nice loose twirl. And what I'm going to do is take 2 of them side by side like this, and then I'm going to hook them together with a little pony bead like that, which I'm going to end up putting on top of a straw as a tall pole like structure, like that. Doesn't look like anything right now, but when it's all painted, it'll look just like a planter pole. I promise. I like doing things in multiples and in patterns. It works for my brain. It just feels satisfying and like you're actually doing something. So I'll do all the fences, and then I'll do all the twirls, and then I'll do all kind of like that. And while one's drying, I move on to the next thing. It just looks neat. Alright, all our fences, parts and pieces are all dry, set aside. Now I want to figure out how I'm going to attach these windows to my wall. And I think the best idea is I'm going to cut a piece of cardboard, and it's just going to be basically my frame. So I'm going to cut some holes for the windows and the door, and that way I'll have something to stick it to. Also, I am not gluing everything together because I'm going to paint everything separate and then stick it together. It just helps. It makes it a little easier so you don't have to be too precise on your painting. Now for the decking, I want it to look like it's actual boards. So I'm going to do some straight lines all the way down, just scoring the wood so that it looks like planks. Once I have all those lines, front and back, because the other side will show too, I'm going to make just random, the diagonal lines, I guess it would be, horizontal, diagonal, and just stagger them, just like they would little plank boards. Now, we got all our parts and pieces, minus the deck board, because we're going to do that in a brown. And I'm just going to base coat everything in this beautiful purple. It's not going to be the ultimate color, but I want it as a base. And for the deck, I'm just going to stain this a dark brown. Easy peasy. All right, now we got everything purple. It's pretty enough as it is, but Now it just looks like a model kit. So we're just gonna kind of put everything all together. And you can see here with the dark wood floor planking, so far so good. It fits. So we're gonna glue our storefront on, just the framing right now. This is where we add some more dimension. It can't be all purple as much as we want it to be, but all my windowsills are going to be kind of this gold color. I want everything kind of in that chalk gray, gold, purple, that kind of tones. And I did not paint this solid gold. I want it to be just a little where the purple shows through. Again, we're going for that old building that's been there a long time, but it's just enough cared for to hold up. So we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna do all the walls kind of in this blue gray all over the place. What's nice with doing a base color like the purple or any color you want, even if it shows through, it's okay. It just makes it a little more dimensional. And now I'm going to do all my railings a black color. And I'm just going to do a rough over black. Again, I kind of want the purple to show through a little bit. So what's nice about doing like a haunted house, an old rustic house, an apocalyptic house, you don't have to be nice and neat and tidy on the painting. Just paint it willy-nilly. Except for my poles, I did paint that a little bit nicer, but even if you don't cover everything, it's okay. It's worn off, it's paint, it's a well-loved house. And what I'm doing here is I'm watering down some black paint because I just want to kind of do a dark wash all over the walls of the building, just to give that extra layer of color. We're going to do another layer. I'm kind of adding a little bit of black with some green, and all those blotches of paper, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a green tint, kind of like it's moss. We're going to kind of do an earth witch here because ultimately the end result, I'm going to do a lot of moss over the top, plants, things like that. So this building has been a little bit overgrown. And now before I put the windowsill in, I'm going to just do this backdrop, kind of a warm orange color. I kind of mix my paints as I go. Even when I use the same brush that had the black paint on it, it kind of gives it a little more of a dingy window. So I just want to fill it just enough so when I put the window in, it looks like a kind of a dirty window-ish in there. And now we're going to glue our window to our windowsill. So make sure you got the right side up here. And I'm just going to glue them together and then stick them on the lower end of the house. go. Got the windows in, and this glue does dry clear. It's very forgiving. Ta-da! Next up, we got all our planter hanger poles, and I thought I would do all those beads on the top. I'm gonna do a gold accent. We like our gold. And now we're gonna start building our railing for our balcony there. And it should. I used a couple different glues just to make sure. I used the my alcohol glue because it's plastics, but since it was plastic to wood, it kind of didn't work, so I did have to go back over it with my regular white glue. Once these were all dry, and I'm able to move it without it falling apart, I'm going to flip it upside down just to make my life a little easier. I'm going to glue it to the deck. And I'm just going to set it up, prop it up like that so it's nice and straight, and then run a line of glue right along the bottom. Once that's all dry, I'm going to try to move it very carefully. Oh, is it? Yep. Hey, it's sticking. Then I'm going to tip it up. Ta-da! Oh my gosh, I'm liking this fence a lot. So now I just got to glue the two sides on. It's a little trickier doing it up and down like this, but they're smaller pieces. I figured doing it laying down for that long strip would get me started, so at least I have something to glue to, and then putting the sides on was much easier. Not too bad, eh? Now let's see if it fits. So we're gonna carefully put it on top here. It's not done yet, but it's almost there. I think that's gonna fit. And ultimately we are gonna put more columns on the bottom, but I wanted to make sure this was gonna stay up here. And we'll put the little witchy house on top just to make sure. And so far so good, we're about halfway. So I think we're gonna end it here. And you're just gonna have to stay tuned for the next time, because we are gonna put some fun details. And but we got the foundation and it's looking darn good. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up so that the next one will come into your recommended. See you then.